Israel is facing sharp criticism from Turkey, with Ankara now accusing it of seeking out a new adversary to sustain its regional posture. The Turkish foreign minister said Israel cannot live without an enemy, alleging that Turkey is now being positioned in that role. Speaking in a televised interview, he said this shift is not limited to the current government led by Netanyahu, but is also reflected among certain sections of the Israeli opposition. He described it as an emerging state strategy. Tensions between the two countries have escalated steadily since the October 7 attack by Hamas, in which around 1,200 people in Israel, mostly civilians, were killed and 251 hostages were taken. The subsequent war in Gaza further deepened divisions. The situation entered a new phase over the weekend when the Turkish president warned the US president about the risk of possible provocations and sabotage that could undermine an initial ceasefire arrangement linked to the ongoing conflict involving Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear that the campaign against Iran and its regional allies is not over and that Israel will continue its efforts to counter Tehran. This is not the first time the Turkish leadership has raised such concerns. In 2024, the Turkish president had warned that if Israel were to defeat Hamas in Gaza, it could eventually set its sights on Turkey. Erdogan has remained one of Israel's most outspoken critics throughout the conflict, accusing it of genocide and war crimes. He backed International Criminal Court's arrest warrants against Israeli leaders and called on the UN to consider the use of force. He has also repeatedly expressed support for Hamas, describing it as a force defending its homeland. The war of words intensified after reports that Turkish prosecutors filed indictments against 35 senior Israeli officials, including Netanyahu, seeking cumulative prison sentences totaling more than 4,500 years. In fact, Israeli leaders responded strongly. Netanyahu accused the Turkish leader of actions against Kurdish populations within Turkey, while the defense minister and the national security minister also issued sharp criticism. Turkey's foreign ministry, meanwhile, hit back, describing Netanyahu as the Hitler of our time, further escalating the diplomatic confrontation. At the same time, Turkey has been actively engaged in diplomatic efforts alongside Egypt and Pakistan to push for a ceasefire in the Iran war. Earlier, US President Donald Trump included the Turkish minister in the board of Peace's Gaza Executive Board. The move drew criticism within Israel. Opponents accused Netanyahu of failing to prevent Turkey from gaining influence in post-war Gaza arrangements, and the developments underscoring a rapidly worsening relationship between the two regional powers, marked by intensifying rhetoric, strategic distrust, and expanding geopolitical divide.